So I was kind of thinking about, all the videos that I've done, all the information that has been put into these short little quick 15-minute videos and how they all build together, all these little puzzle pieces build together to show, the reality of where we are, what's happening, how it's coming into being, where we're going, how the Bible predicted its coming time frame, its coming objectives, and the the strange notion in Luke 21. That's a fairly quick, easy chapter, paragraph. Well, Luke 21, read that, please, because near the end of it, he'll talk about how people need to be awake. In fact, let's just go there so you can see what I'm talking about. Because God knew that there would be so much social engineering being used to keep people unaware of what's actually going on and putting information into them, he said what he wanted you to do. Let me find it for you right here. Here's God's prescription to what he saw would happen with the social engineering, the brainwashing, and his remedy for that, and what the church, sadly enough, and many people that are unsaved have all fallen into this web of deceit by having, that MTV generation, that Mason generation, all the media telling you what to think, what to believe. They would love to get into your mind and know what you're thinking. They have really, through music, television, interviews, commercials, songs, jingles, you name it, they have been constructing a reality and pushing you towards their goals and towards all kinds of things that we could talk about. Most of it having to do with like a losing your religion REM song type of format and video, which a lot could be said about that. But just that constant theme of like crushing down on Christ, moving people as a society away from the Bible, and preparing them with this rebel attitude and spirit to what we've been talking about in so many videos, moving them towards this acceptance of this coming world ruler and everything that goes along with that. That kingdom of Babylon is a global entity that rejects Christ, as well as many other things, witchcraft and false religion, and we could go on and on and on about that. But one of the constructs, or one of the concepts rather, that God said here in Luke 21:34 to battle against that sleepiness, that unawareness, is here. It says, "Take heed to yourselves, lest any time your hearts be overcharged and surfeiting, it's hard for me to say that word, and drunkenness and the cares of this life, so that that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare," that's a trap, "shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth." So they're planning something, and God is also coming on Yom Hadin as well. And this, the only way to escape this is through the cross of Jesus Christ, which we've already talked about. And it's not something that can be pushed away. The last 7 years, this tribulation that's coming, all the things that they're preparing for it, it's not something that we can change. It's set in reality. It's coming, and people are asleep. They're unaware, and they're wrapped up in their lives. And so much of that comes through being told what to think, the brainwashing, the social engineering, the social manipulation, crafting for them their ideas about who and what God is and what we should be doing. And now this whole direction towards transhumanism, humanism 2.0, and people are to the point where they're so biblically ignorant and so unaware of what's going on. They are becoming the very victims of this plot and plan and scheme through Satan, Lucifer, same entity, and working in and through the Masons, through the television, to do all the thinking for you. That's where we're going. And so God said that this snare is coming, and he gave you a prescription here to deal with it. It says, watch ye therefore and pray always, that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. And so there is a time coming when the Lord is going to remove his church, and repentance and belief is the way that that is done. And it's really important that people understand that they have done this manipulation of the masses through this gentleman right here, Edward Bernays, the father of modern advertising, who was a family member of Freud and that whole strange um, philosophy of that man, but really delving into the psyche and understanding how people think and using that against them and being able to construct like Tavistock Institutes, Laurel Canyon, and other professional think tank Bilderbergs, these organizations where they figure out what they're going to do to manipulate you, and then they have the stars and the celebrities and the singers and the videos and the visuals, the interviews, the cartoons, the movies, the TV shows, all of it designed to go underneath the radar to direct your will where they want it to go. But it's done so carefully and so quietly, this art of getting people to trust that was talked about in the movie called Focus, in the trailer with Will Smith. There is an art to getting people to trust you, and they use these manipulative practices through getting people to reject Christ and drawing them to the darkness, is what I'm saying. So he says here, the consciousness and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in a democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government. Drink that in, what he just said. Constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. So this is through the media. Now they are throwing this word deep state around, but they want you to think that that's a different entity than your beautiful government and Trump and all that kind of stuff, Kofi and John Hagee and all those people. They want you to think that those are the good guys and the deep state's the bad guys. That's all a lie. It's all one and the same. They're just two faces going on there. So there really is this group of people that are the multi-trillionaires that have stolen the wealth out of our dollar, that are leading us where they want us to go. And there's so many layers and layers and layers and layers of lies upon lies. And he goes on to say here, we are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by man we have never heard of. Right? Largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organized. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smoothly functioning society. Talking about why they have this purpose of brainwashing you and to bring you into their dictates and their will. But so quietly and so under the radar that you think your thoughts are your own, but no, they were seated there by these people in the beginning through, psychology, through social engineering, through the movies, through your entertainment. And almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons, in the media he means, who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. And it is they who pull the wires which control the public mind. Right. So who's behind it? It's the Masons. It's the Noachides. It's the people that now have all that, plus all the AI, all the technology, all the Edadel, all the Chinese communist security, all the power and control to lock you in or lock you out of the system. And you have Trump building this wall and all this stuff, and people have suggested that he's building that wall to keep you in. And when you really look at the direction that the laws and everything are starting to take place, where they're saying that if you criticize this, you criticize that, you are guilty of this hate speech and these thought crimes, and this minority report from hell scenario is now developing. And that's part and parcel of how this manipulation works and what you're expected to go along with. They show it to you and forecast it, broadcast it in the movies. It gets down into your mind and your heart, and then they direct you and they make laws against you. And then you have Trump, who's constantly talking about how we're not going to put up with hatred anymore, how we're not going to put up with anti-Semitism anymore, how we're not going to put up with anti-Zionism anymore, how we're not going to put up with disagreeing with anything that Israel does politically, socially, spiritually, anything, and how the Talmud is what sort of rules from Israel, and then that spreading, and then you throw on the layer of the Noahide, and you're starting to see how you're being manipulated towards this massive plan of Satan to trap people in this snare through these practices. So when you're sitting watching TV and they're talking about a shooting here and a shooting there and a shooting here and a shooting there, you should understand everything else that's going along with it. And that when you kind of tear back that layer of what is being told to you and you ask the question, how could these people in government and entertainment be using this for their purposes and goals? That whole problem, reaction, their solution, you can see how they're really using that for a total paradigm shift of how we're allowed to how we're not allowed to put our thoughts and ideas out, how we're not allowed to process information, how we're not allowed to disagree with certain entities, and if you do, there's a problem. And you're starting to understand, maybe through some of these videos, as we look at all this, that the reason for the shootings, whether actual blood is being spilled or not, they are being constructed and you are being manipulated through so many venues of media and entertainment to accept that they have their solution, and that solution is the Noahide, the law, the even though we have laws against killing and all that kind of thing, those aren't good enough. And now you have this world Supreme Court coming from the Sanhedrin to replace the UN. And honestly, there's just so many layers of things that are going on. And I guess it is best to kind of deal with these 15 minutes at a time, puzzle piece by puzzle piece, um, because there's just so many. And when you put them all together, you see the puzzle. And it's interesting because the puzzle shows the picture of what the Bible said would happen. Now we're seeing it happen. And thus, the thesis here is that you are seeing the Bible tell you what would come into being at the end, and how people need to shake themselves free from the social engineering and manipulation. Quit trusting everything that the media tells you, and understand that when they're telling you that if you question the narrative, you are committing a criminal act. That is very dangerous. It's all setting you up for this trap that's coming that Jesus warned you about. And you should look into the Tavistock Institute. Check them out, and Laurel Canyon. What happened in the 60s was all manufactured. This social psychiatry. They're telling you, just exactly like that Rowdy Roddy Piper movie that everybody highlights. That was put into film for you to understand that this is the direction we're going in, and you don't have a choice. They want you to believe. Um, so this is kind of some of the ideas. And they're using it. They are sly. They're using it to control you. They're using it to set the standard for the direction that they want to take you in. So much could be said about this, honestly. And telling people that certain ideas have to be categorized as fake, false, dangerous, bad, conspiracy theory is all part of this manipulation and brainwashing. It says here, propaganda works best when those who are being manipulated are confident that they are acting on their own free will. I mean, this was from Nazi Germany. That was what Joseph, I don't know how to say that, Goebbels or whatever. I'm probably saying it the wrong way. But look, propaganda, mind manipulation, manufacturing consent. This is what we're talking about. So you're seeing the ideology of social engineering from Nazi Germany being brought into the forefront of the globe through social media and every other way.